Left click. Left click is a hit scan with medium range. There are 3 levels of laser charge, with each level increasing damage and beam thickness. The degree of charge of the LMB drastically changes the gameplay of Symmetra. With one charge level, even Mercy and Baby Diva are able to shoot Symmetra. Symmetra, who only uses LMB with her first charge, is the weakest hero in the game. It is better not to lose a high charge, and therefore Symmetra is ready to attack even low-priority targets, just to save the charge. Any enemy shield left in the heat of battle will do, or even a much diva as long as she gets in or out of it. No damage is dealt, but the charge builds up. 2 level of charge makes Symmetra competitive, but not very strong. With a full charge, the Symmetra is able to duel most of the heroes in the game, and even in the shortest possible time. It takes a little over a second to kill a squish. Many heroes Reaper, Junk, Bastion, Hog, Kree still won't give you a chance in melee, so don't relax. There is a whole gulf between Symmetra with a full charge and without a charge. Uncharged is not able to meet a crowd of enemies in the forehead, it takes time. Before taking sane damage, so a dive or death ball will easily kill Symmetra if she doesn't do anything. Spam, turrets, teleport will help you survive until you get a high charge. It happens that Symmetra is not able to take part in the battle because he goes in an inaccessible place on the high ground, for example, or it is too dangerous for her to engage in it. At this moment, it is enough to charge LMB on the edge of the shield, being safe, and enter the battle already charged. Symmetra deals little damage against shields, but gains a lot of value from it. Just standing in the blind spot and charging up against the shield is a legitimate tactic. The weaker the charge of Symmetra, the more profitable it is to shoot at light targets, shields and tanks, and the higher the charge, the greater the benefit from hitting difficult targets and the less dependence. Symmetry from the help of the team. The LMB damage ceiling is not particularly high in numbers, but it is easy to hit with the beam, especially when it is charged and gets thicker. While the others miss, Symmetra hits, making her more dangerous than she looks. Of course, the higher the rank, the more accurate the players around become. And the significance of this moment falls. LMB can also be used as a laser pointer when you show in which direction the team should go. Right-click. This attack takes a long time to charge, the projectile flies slowly and sadly, it can only hit a very easy target, a shield, a group of enemies, a gaping tank, an enemy that is close to you. A distant enemy will always dodge a fully charged ball if they see it, so it makes sense to spam with small balls, even if they deal tiny damage. At a long distance it makes sense to shoot only at the corners, because the enemy does not see the ball and will not be ready to dodge it. Despite the large hitbox, the ball is able to fly through gaps that seem narrow. A textbook example is this position on Eichenwald. The right click allows you to profitably exchange for HP if you play from cover. While the orb is charging, Symmetra is safe, she peeks out for a moment, releases the orb, dealing 120 damage, and immediately hides. The time window for taking damage is minimal. The only thing to be wary of is a one-shot or a slip. The ball charges loudly, so you may well be caught. The long RMB charge gives Symmetra players the habit of charging it all the time. You go along the road the RMB is charging. Looked around the corner, released the ball. A habit like this can do a lot of harm if you want to keep the direction of your attack a secret. For example, don't warn an enemy that you have a Symmetra if you're going to teleport to a point. The right-click charge is not reset when teleporting, so you can charge an attack, teleport, and then hit. The ball flies for so long that the Symmetra has the ability to one-shot enemies. We release the ball from afar, charge a new ball, teleport forward, and launch a new one. On average, LMB will always do more damage in a slightly longer fight, but RMB allows you to do a little more damage when the charge is low, and without trading phase. And this is extremely important, while Symmetra is not yet charged and fighting 1 versus 1. Turrets. They are created flying, and can be easily shot down in flight. This can both harm if the purpose of the turret is standard and save a life if the turret is hit by a one-shot ability, such as a hook. Each turret deals a measly 40 damage and slows the target by 20%. Using turrets, like almost any of Symmetra's other abilities, is more effective together. If you spread out the turrets, they will attack different targets, and given their low damage, and the low damage of an uncharged Symmetra, it is unlikely that even a squish can be killed. Therefore, I prefer to use turrets together, focusing them on one enemy, even though it is easier to break turrets in one splash shot this way. The exception is a lone turret that acts as an alarm in places where you can be flanked. To break the turret, the enemy must turn his head, so the most profitable option is that in which the turrets, although they attack one target, are located as far as possible. By the way, looking up is much more difficult than looking down. Turrets must be located where the enemy will be forced to linger, or where he risks catching some more damage. A perfect example is arch chokes. Also, turrets can be placed anywhere where a vulnerable enemy is expected to move. For example, this position on the rear toe. Opponents wounded on the bridge often come here, especially since there is a large first aid kit nearby. When placing turrets, it is important to feel the line of the future front. If you place the turrets too aggressively, the enemy will rush past without even noticing them. Too passive placement of turrets will only help against a flanker, if the enemy has one at all. Place for turrets a line where the enemy will linger, falling under oncoming fire. This line will be closer to the opponents if they have rain and Zria, or can even be located in your rear if the opponent is playing a dive. Each turret has a 10-second cooldown, and you can put a maximum of 3 turrets. If you do not waste time, then you can start the defense already with 3 turrets in position, and 3 more turrets in your pocket. The same applies to minutes of calm during the battle if the cooldown of all turrets has already been rolled back, and there will be no battle in the next few seconds. Use hold put the turret in the place of the alleged fire contact. If you have no idea where the fire contact will occur, just stick the turret on the back of the payload. The enemy will definitely try to get into this position. You can also stick the turrets in a bunch on top of the payload for subsequent teleportation. If the turrets are located on the ground and are waiting in the wings, try not to spin next to them once again. The enemy will shoot you with the splash ability, and the turrets will be destroyed. The death room is one of the ways to increase the chances of a perfect use of turrets. Symmetra is weak in itself, many people know this, and when they see a lonely Symmetra, they try to kill her. It turns out a kind of fishing for live bait when the enemy is lured into a room hung with turrets. In the same room, a teleport for an instant military retreat can be located in advance, so the Symmetra does not risk anything at all, except for cooldowns. This technique is especially effective on escort maps, when a team fight has already happened, and lone players go on a free hunt, hoping to farm the percentage of the ult and give a random peek. For Symmetra, who loves predictability and order, as well as teamwork, such moments do not allow to turn around at full capacity. There is no fight line here. You don't need to charge the left click, any squish will dodge the right click. Creating a death room will capitalize the cooldown of the turrets and give an extra peek with some chance. With a teleport at hand, you can safely fire at the enemy, stuffing yourself with an ult. In case of a threat to the life of Symmetra, turrets can be used directly in battle, but as in the case of the right click, this is not the most profitable option. It is only needed for survival. Wall. There are 2 main types of wall: parallel and perpendicular. The parallel wall perfectly protects against enemy fire when he does not change position. For example, you can use the wall during the ult of an enemy soldier or Kree. They tend to try to ult from a distance and will not be able to overcome the wall in any way. Or you can put a wall in front of the enemy bastion. He cannot quickly change position and most likely will be destroyed. The problem with this method is that the enemy located at a distance can simply turn back and wait out the wall. And an opponent who is too close will simply go forward and push your team away from the wall. If you attack, A too cautious parallel wall runs the risk of being behind you as you move forward. The enemy simply will not let you approach the too arrogant attacking parallel wall. By the way, opponents can block you with the body and prevent you from using the advantage of the wall. The perpendicular wall leaves the opportunity to pursue the enemy, but does not provide complete protection. Part of the enemy team will remain on one side, and part on the other. And one of them can knock you over the head. In this case, you can escape by going to the other side of the wall, but even here one of the opponents can hit you. A wall like this is good for launching a team attack, and when supported by another offensive ult, it leaves little chance for opponents. When using a perpendicular wall, remember that it goes infinitely far. You will be able to chase the enemy for a long time, but depending on the geometry of the map, the quality of the wall protection will not always be perfect. If you are fighting a small group of enemies and another group is fighting far away on a payload, place a wall so that it intersects both of these points. At the same time, an ideal parallel wall can be just as good for an attack, and even better, but there is a risk that it will not be ideal. A perpendicular wall is easier to create and therefore more reliable. By turning the sight, you can put the wall at an angle, creating a kind of hybrid of the previously mentioned two main types. The effectiveness of this solution depends entirely on the geometry of the map and the location of the teams. Be aware of the duration of the wall and try not to get trapped when the wall ends. The wall can be instantly destroyed with a single Sombra button. This question requires a separate explanation in the guide on the interaction of Symmetra with other heroes. Otherwise, the wall is almost indestructible, with the exception of the ultimates of Cray, Hog, Tob, Nano Bastion, Barrage. The wall can easily be broken under the Baptist window. In these cases, the wall will still hold for a few seconds. The wall can be given from spawn. Of course, you should definitely ask the team in the voice chat if they need such a wall. For this reason, you cannot set the transparency of the point indicator to the maximum, in order to be able to finally determine the position of the wall directly from the spawn. Often, a wall is placed to protect against Liva's bomb. This not only saves lives, but also allows the team to stay in line and not scatter like cockroaches. Whatever you try to protect yourself from with a wall, remember that the moment of danger will pass, and the wall will continue to exist. Set up a wall so that it is useful for as long as possible. Thus, defense against Liva's bomb smoothly turns into a counteroffensive. The wall works well in combination with turrets. The enemy can come forward abruptly, hoping to quickly break the turrets, but when a wall appears and the turrets remain intact, the enemy is in an extremely dangerous situation. If you plan to use the wall soon, it's best not to waste turrets until then. Under the wall, they will last much longer. Teleport. Teleport is the most variable, most impactful, and most game-sense demanding ability in Overwatch. Teleport is combined with everything in a row, and it is for this reason that I left it for last. I will try to list the ways to use the teleport. It can be left at spawn to quickly return to battle after death. Never do this if you want to learn how to play the Symmetra. While TP is spawning, you don't learn how to use it. And this is the main ability of the hero. You don't learn to play Symmetra at all while TPing at spawn. And that's what a lot of players do. They are untrainable. While normal players use TP to keep from dying, idiots use TP to get back faster after death. TP at spawn should stand exactly as long as someone can use it in the next few seconds. Using TP after your own death looks like this. You warn the team that you will soon break the teleport. In a good way, you need to announce in the voice each creation and destruction of the teleport. A second before your respawn, you break TP. You create TP from spawn. You check through the tab if any of the allies will respawn. Before destroying TP, turn around and visually check. Is anyone going to the teleporter? The teleporter can be used offensively, to overcome chokes, or to go from attacking straight to defensive. When the attack team immediately finds itself on the point, the teams seem to change roles. Now the defenders have to attack and defend. Of course, it's easier. In addition, you do not have to waste time and wait to the point with a fight. In addition, there is sometimes a lone healer on the point who will be immediately killed by your team. Such teleportation will require good tanks, preferably Rhine, Sigma. The Diva matrix is very useful. Often, this setup is taken by me, whose wall closes the teleport, not giving opponents a chance to break it. However, if the enemy has junk, and he understands what you are going to do, you are finished. Junk solo won't just break TP, it can kill all your squishes. But for each point there are many variations with the teleport, so even junk is not always able to stop the teleportation. With me, there is another combination from this category. You can create a teleport directly to her wall, and the wall itself can be placed on many roofs. These galaxy tactics aren't always effective, but they are quite impressive, so it's worth a try, if only for fun and practicing coordination. At least on scrims this technique is much more effective than in ranked.
What did I see? I didn't do that.
By the way, in the Overwatch League, this technique is considered forbidden. Those idiots couldn't make a map with all the abilities in the game in mind. Do you still believe that Overwatch 2 will be good? In order to do everything correctly, the whole team will have to take the right positions. This may take some time, so there will be almost no speed advantage. Well, if someone falls, then everything will go down the drain. TP can be fake if the enemy is aware that you have an attacking Symmetra and is trying to punish you. You can win back from this by placing TP as usual, but instead of using it, just walk on the ground. Some nervous reinhards can even charge into such a fake teleporter. Of course, all members of your team must understand the deception of this maneuver, otherwise things will only get worse for you. In addition, the higher the coherence of the enemy team, the higher the chance that they will bait for this trick. In a word, this technique is better suited for screens than for ranked. It is more convenient to put the teleport from top to bottom. During the jump the hero is a little higher, and this allows you to put the teleport in positions otherwise inaccessible. This feature works with shuttle spawn doors. Using the height of the door and the jump, you can put the teleport further than from the ground. With the help of jumps, it is convenient to check exactly where the teleporter will be placed when you place it from top to bottom. Symmetra's left click distance is 12 meters. This is 2 meters more than the attack range of the turrets. The teleport is placed at 30 meters. From here we get that the maximum attack distance of the Symmetra is 42 meters, and the maximum damage distance is 40 meters. In defense, the teleport makes it possible to take positions that would be suicidal audacity without TP. Usually the players try to move away from the chokes at a respectful distance, fearing that the enemy will sweep them out of the way. But teleport allows you to instantly change position, so that the range of possible positions of the defenders increases many times. You can occupy a high ground close to the enemy, and go to a distant high ground from the snow. You can go from the ground to the high ground, or vice versa. Chalk's turret squeeze space from the enemy. Your team's spam also takes away space, and Symmetra can also spam from new directions. Opponents try to punish Symmetra, but only lose time, because she has an instant escape. Such a pre-created teleport at one end must be in a blind zone for the enemy. The second end can also be hidden, or you can simply put it behind the back of the team, like a human shield. To prevent Farah from breaking the teleport, it is enough to attach the teleport to the wall, like here or here. One of the variations of the escape teleporter is the teleporter located between the two exits from the enemy spawn. Thus, you deprive the enemy of the chance to leave the spawn without a fight. TP is not created right at the hero's feet, but a little forward. It's important to keep this in mind when you're trying to keep the teleport in an enemy's blind spot. If the teleport is created close to some object, the teleport may not fit, and then it will move a little to the side, and perhaps the enemy will be able to see the teleport from this new position. A little trick. If it is difficult for you to place a teleport offhand, it is enough to put graffiti in the place where the teleport will stand. a knowledgeable opponent is able to punish Symmetra for such teleports. For example, Roll plus Flash Grenade plus RMB from Cray. Lucio, Ball, Diva, Junk, Doom, Farah, Hog's ult, Monkey's ult can be pushed away from the teleporter. You need to be extremely careful when these heroes approach TP. Maze Wall is able to block access to TP, and it can do it remotely. TP is set for escape and not only for chalks, but in any place where you don't want to feel locked in. Separately, TP for escape is also set against some ultimates. With the help of TP, the entire team is able to evade the nanoblade. Set a TP in advance, where the bulk of allies gather without escapes, with access to a safe section of the map, and be sure to inform about this TP in voice, and if you have time, duplicate it in text chat. In general, any such commands have to be duplicated, because even the use of a teleport at spawn by the whole team is not a regular situation. With the help of a preset TP, Symmetra is able to save herself from Sombra's ult. It is not necessary to save the whole team, it is enough to leave through the TP yourself, and help the team with a wall. In anticipation of Grav, TP needs to be broken in advance, and keep it with a ready cooldown, and wait for you to be grave-aged. The direction of the saving TP should also be chosen and announced in advance. An uncharged Symmetra is ridiculously weak. When fully charged, she kills squishes in almost a second. A full charge of LMB opens up new opportunities for Symmetra. Now she can easily take out any support or sniper, no matter if he is in the backline or on the high ground. She can also create a similar TP knot for herself. Imagine a widow aiming Symmetra's head, which should appear from a teleporter, but instead of it from TP. A huge and angry tank appears. When TP is set to destroy a specific enemy hero, it is advisable to place this teleport away from the victim. If TP are standing right next to the enemy, then while teleportation is going on, the enemy can move either to the left or to the right. And you won't know where to look. Putting TP to the side, you will clearly know that the enemy is on the opposite side. There are several types of teleportation turrets. First, the turrets can be placed directly on the ground. It must be remembered that the teleporter is not created right at your feet, and the turrets should be positioned with this feature in mind. By the way, even if the turrets are on the wall, they will still be pulled into the teleport. It's important to keep this in mind if you just want to place the turrets and teleporter close to each other. If there is no way to get them close, just teleport back and then teleport the turrets. Having placed the turrets in advance, you can start charging the RMB while the teleport is being created. Teleporting 3 turrets at once, and firing from the right click, and continuing the attack with the maximum charge of the left click. You can extract maximum damage from Symmetra. The disadvantage of this method is that the turrets can be destroyed while they are on the ground. If you place turrets right before teleporting, and in front of everyone, some opponents may understand that you are going to flank, and you will be punished. A faster and safer option is to first put a TP, and while it is being created, throw turrets into it. This will lose the time window for charging the right click, but the attack will be more sudden. In addition, if you have a full LMB charge, the importance of RMB will be insignificant. Of course, you can combine these methods by placing 1 to 2 turrets in advance, and throwing 2 to 1 turrets into the TP later. Teleporting turrets away from you may not be accompanied by teleporting Symmetra herself. In this case, the turret bomb is intended only to create a space. Another option is related to the teleportation of turrets not from themselves, but towards themselves. Say, if you have an unused pile of turrets left after a hot fight, you can surprise the enemy by teleporting the turrets to you. It is unlikely that the enemy will expect that from the teleporter he will immediately begin to be damaged. The main thing in this method is to immediately move away from the teleport in order to create a group of targets for the enemy and prevent damage to the turrets from the splash. Almost nothing is capable of one-shot TP, so there is almost always an opportunity to react to fire on a teleporter. If you hit TP at least once, this is already a reason to worry, and from now on you need to be as careful as possible. Between the attacks of many heroes, for example, Farah, tangible gaps, catch a safe time window. If TP is placed behind the back of the opponent, then Symmetra will have to turn around to attack. You can turn around before TP or after TP. Usually players turn around after leaving the TP, as it is more convenient, and there is not always time to turn around in the thick of the battle. But immediately upon exiting the TP, there are only a couple of seconds before the entire enemy backline takes up arms against Symmetra. And the teleport will not be broken, and I want to use this precious time as efficiently as possible. So if possible, it is better to turn around in advance. Unlike Symmetra's turrets, teleporting Tokjon's turret doesn't seem like a good idea. This turret has a lot of health and a long range. Her place is in the allied backline, completely safe. Pretty much the only time I will teleport Tokjon's turret is if Tokjon has placed his turret directly on top of my turrets, usually on a payload. But this is more of an accident than a plan. Teleport works great in combination with a few ults. The first is, of course, Diva's bomb. Maker prepares to explode for 3 seconds. This is more than enough window to create a TP. The problem here will be the reaction of the opponent's tanks. They can defend themselves with shields. To minimize the chances of such an outcome, you should combine the teleportation of the bomb with the general push of your team when the enemy tanks are in combat, and will not allow themselves to turn around at the right time. Junk wheel teleportation is effective. It can be difficult for the wheel to get to the opponent's alive, and the teleport will allow him to immediately be in a convenient position. It is not necessary to put such ATP directly at the enemies. You can teleport the wheel to a certain room behind their back or to the high ground, and then the wheel will reach itself. This is not a particularly difficult, but rare combination. The chance that the enemy will react is minimal. With the help of TP, you can wake up a sleeping Bob. Like turrets, it can be teleported both towards you and away from you. In any case, the enemy will most likely shoot at Bob without waiting for him to appear. It is advisable to teleport from yourself to the enemy backline and accompany it personally so that the enemy attacks Bob with a high chance. TP synergizes with many other ults that require good positioning. You can give Shutter bypassing the shields, Blizzard and Grav bypassing the Matrix, deliver a soldier with a visor or a Bastion tank to the high ground. MP and Blossom can be dealt without letting enemies react to Sombra's throw or Reaper's reposition. TP gives mobility not only to Symmetra, and this feature can drastically change the gameplay of one of the heroes. Bastion has incredible damage but is very vulnerable due to its immobility. TP partially solves this problem by allowing you to move between 2 points. Bastion teleportation can be both long-term and short-term. Long-term implies the choice of 2 specific points in which the TP will not be broken by enemy fire, and a good firing position will open at the Bastion. The security of TP can be provided both by the geometry of the map and by the allied shield. Moreover, in some cases, a shield will have to be placed on each of the entrances to the teleport. But more on that another time. A brief teleportation of the Bastion is made to a position from which the enemy is not protected by a shield. Often such positions are in open space, and it is dangerous for the Bastion to sit on them for a long time. Enough to give a peek or two and then come back. Such teleportation can be performed directly from the payload of your pirate ship. From all of the above, there are several principles of playing Symmetra. 1. Symmetra requires preparation. She is not combat ready without a charged LMB or without installed turrets. 2. Symmetra's strength is fickle. She swims from the minimum in the game when there is no charge and turrets. Symmetra is weaker than Mercy, to a huge. A fully charged Symmetra with 3 turrets is capable of killing just about anyone. Symmetra without a charge can only hide. A fully charged Symmetra is a very effective flanker. 3. Profit maximization with cooldowns. You can put up to 3 turrets and have 3 more turrets in stock. Each fight must be preceded by the placement of at least 1 turret. Keep a close eye on the teleport. If it's spawned and no one uses it in the next few seconds, break it. You can teleport turrets from an unwanted position to the desired one, and then instead of wasting the cooldown of the turrets, you will spend only the teleport cooldown. 4. Strength in unity. 3 turrets are more than 3 times more useful than 1 turret. 3 turrets and a charged LMB are more useful together than apart. And if you teleport 3 turrets to the backline with a charged LMB, protecting them and yourself with a wall, then another 5k highlight will be provided. 5. One ability can perform 2 functions. If you put the turrets in a bunch in the right place, then they can protect both from enemies that pass nearby, and from those that pass in another place. Because so the turrets can be teleported. The wall can protect against pushing, or it can prevent the enemy from breaking the turrets. It can protect against Deva's bomb, or it can initiate a counterattack. 6. Don't overestimate allies. Allies may be visually impaired, hearing impaired, brain disabled, may not read chat, or ignore all instructions. Commands should be duplicated, and overly complex strategies should be abandoned. Teleporters should not disorient or kill allies whenever possible. If a TP is urgently placed from graph, tell where exactly it leads so that the allies are not disoriented. This teleport is very effective in my hands, but an inept ally has a high chance of falling into the water, so I often have to warn about the danger of this TP in a voice. And warnings don't always work. In some ways, you can direct the behavior of allies. For example, you want to go to the point, but they may not listen to you and go to the high ground. Say that there will be a teleport from spawn, but do not specify where exactly. Put the teleport in the opposite direction, and the team will have to accept. In essence, the higher the rating, the better you will interact with teammates, the less often you will be complained about for no reason, the more often you will be given nanos. In short, the higher the rating, the easier it is to play Symmetra. This video is not a guide to Symmetra in general, but only an overview of her abilities. For the full picture, it remains to clarify the interaction and counter-interaction of Symmetra with every other hero, as well as show how Symmetra plays on each individual map, because the use of her abilities is completely dependent on the surrounding geometry. In fact, I have told only a small part. I did not mention all the features of the abilities and tried not to give numbers, but only walked through the main features. If you have any questions, ask, I will answer. In addition, I also do VOD reviews. For now, that's all. Thank you for your attention. Don't play the meta. Subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. See you again.